evening from Wales, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. We are less than 24 hours out from WWE's Royal Rumble PLE, one of, if not my favorite PLEs of the year, and it's safe to say, at least in my opinion, it lived up to the hype. But what was controversial about it was the winners. Of course, Charlotte Flair, just like Arsenal's Miles Lewis Skelly, refused to stay humble and won the Women's Royal Rumble for a second time. I had to get some Arsenal reference in there. We just beat Man City 5-1. I am absolutely buzzing. But also Jey Uso very controversially won the Men's Royal Rumble. We're going to be talking about all of that and more, but let me introduce today's panel because I'm joined by Anthony Ricciardi, Coby Galenzoski, and Archie Carter, and we're going to just jump straight into it today because we have so much to talk about. Anthony, I want to get your thoughts out the gate on the Women's Royal Rumble and Charlotte Flair winning it once again and becoming a two-time Royal Rumble winner.
I think most of us had Charlotte as the presumptive winner of the Rumble, even going into it, unless they threw a curveball in there and threw Becky or something like that, then it might have changed things. But I think Charlotte was the right choice. I mean, let's be honest. I realized she was gone for a while. I did not realize until that graphic came out. I was like, wow, she really has been gone for like well over a year. But I was fine with it. I love seeing Jordynne Grace in there, making her debut officially under WWE. I thought she had a strong showing. I loved the spot with Piper Niven. I thought that was great. And it was a nice showcase of a lot of that talent in there. I love that the dirt sheets were worked yet again. Anytime that they're able to throw the dirt sheets off and going, WWE's at odds with Alexa. Oh no, there's no way she's coming in. And sure enough, she got one of the biggest pops of the night when she came out there. I do love that they're trying to twist it now and going, oh no, Shotzi might have been in there, and it was a last minute. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a last minute thing. They tricked the sheets the same way they did when Jordynne Grace came in to NXT, where they put a fake name on a sheet and all their sources went, oh no, it's Shotzi. No, it wasn't. They had a T-shirt and they had everything ready to go. Come on, that wasn't a last minute decision. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Nikki Bella coming back was a surprise at 30. I think there were a number of people we kind of expected to possibly pop up in the Rumble. I think Jade was a name that I think some of us thought. Becky obviously is the constant. Where it's a matter of when, not if, when she pops up. But Charlotte, I was completely fine with. I think they're going Charlotte and Tiff. I think that's the smart direction to go with this. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid match. I loved the show as a whole. I don't get the internet hate. But again, they have to complain about something because they have nothing else better to do.
Yeah, great point there. And also, I loved what you said about the dirt sheets. They did get that completely and utterly wrong about Alexa. But the one quite interesting thing I would say about it all is, who knows? Maybe she was just in the area magically with her gear and special designs. And at that point, they were like, oh, I'm magically here. We've magically agreed terms out of nowhere. Not a possibility now?
No, I mean, it's entirely possible. By the way, I do love, and this was a theme throughout the night, I do love the fact Michael Cole now throwing off stats about like TNA, which just cracks me up because knowing where it was before, it was like, oh no, you can't. Like, she was multiple time TNA knockouts champion and this and that. And it's like, it just cracks me up.
My mate looked at me, right? And I had a Rumble party with a lot of lapsed fans, let's say. And he looked at me and went, gosh, they acknowledge TNA a lot more than they used to do. Of course, he wasn't aware of it and all that, but that was quite bizarre for him. We do have quite a few comments here. Sean Ellis said the Women's Royal Rumble should have had some TNA knockouts in it. I'd have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen Masha in it. Here is the thing. They were debuting Jordynne Grace as their own talent, so I'm not entirely sure if that would have happened because they're already introducing a new name.
I meant to look it up. They introduced Mickie James as a 5-time women's champion. Is that just, I didn't look, is that just WWE or are they including the TNA ones as well?
Off the top of my head, I have no idea.
Because they said 5, and I meant to look that up, honestly. But
I doubt they're counting that as What I don't know. I'd still keep it separate, even though I love them acknowledging it. I would still keep it separate from WWE a little
So
bit.
five is WWE only.
Okay.
Okay,
Include
yeah,
it.
that makes.
Because she's a 5-time knockouts champion too.
So it'd be 10
Oh wow,
total.
10
So,
times.
yeah.
That's Charlotte Flair levels. Numero 1 says, give a special shout out to Roxanne for breaking the Iron Woman record. Absolutely. What a fantastic showing. Shout out to you, Sean Ellis, and shout out to you, Numero 1, as well, and to you, Deontay, as well, over in the comment section. Coby Galenzoski, as the head of reviewing, what did you think of the Women's Royal Rumble?
And I think it necessarily didn't set the bar in the same way as it did last year. Last year, I felt a lot stronger with what the match was presented. But this year, there was a lot of good stuff to talk about. And I think there was a lot of NXT names that people went, oh yeah, they put a lot of names in it. They put Roxanne Perez, who's technically probably now main roster. They put Lash Legend. They put Julia and Stephanie Vicaire. They put Jada Parker, and Jada Parker got the pop. Like, they put names in the match where, I mean, maybe they wouldn't have gotten the pop, but they did. And a lot of people had their moment to shine. And I think there's a lot of good things about it. I think outside of timing issues, there were things that didn't look great. But I think that's almost a constant with Rumbles, is there's always going to be a little bit of mess because you got how many people in the ring at once, and you got to work with the space you have. Like, I kind of saw, like, it wasn't as smooth as it probably should have been, but the Julia and Io Sky kind of interaction was kind of just in the middle of the ring with people around them, and then they, like, obviously there's a lot of mess, and that's just the nature of the beast. That's the nature of what the Royal Rumble is. But I had a really good time. It was a good match. I thought moments had to happen. There's things that made sense. It was important for Ivy Nile to eliminate Lyra Valkyria because that's essentially the next challenger. That's kind of the direction they teased on Monday. Well, that's kind of a guarantee right now. It's not a Mania challenger. It's not a pay-per-view challenger or PLE challenger, but it's going to be a weekly challenger, and it will help Lyra get a win. I personally almost want to see the tease of what happened with Bianca Belair. Getting jealous the second she saw Jordan Grace and Naomi embracing and having their hug, and I hope that means something. I don't know if that's the Mania match, is Jade and Bianca versus Naomi and or Jordan Grace. I'd be fine with that. I'd love it. In that.
I'd love it.
I think that'd be a good move, but I don't know where they're going. I think the biggest thing to me is, aside from the fact that there were 3 Iron Women, because you had Io Sky, you had Liv Morgan, and then you had Roxanne Perez all going 60 plus. I think they really did a disservice to Io Sky and Liv Morgan because they kind of were just eliminated in that group of like 8 women who got eliminated at once, and was like, yeah, they never really got to have a proper, like, oh, this person got eliminated. That was a favorite at this point in the match. And I think, like, I don't know if that's a constant, because they kind of did that last year with Jimmy Uso and Jay, where like they never really leaned into, oh, it's brother versus brother in the Rumble. They just had like, oh, Jimmy helping the heels and stuff like that. Like, it was a lot of funky stuff. And I think Iron Women wise, like, yeah, Io and Liv didn't probably get the elimination they should have. But the one thing I'm coming out of this is I'm glad they didn't blow their wad. Like we said, Jade Cargill didn't show up. Becky Lynch didn't show up to lose. Asuka's probably coming back in the near future. Asuka didn't come back to lose. Like, there's names that we can sit here and say, yeah, they didn't put them in the Rumble, and it was still a very good Rumble. And even surprise-wise, almost blew the men's out of the water, aside from Joe Hendry.
For a second year running as well. I mean, last year we said this, and you acknowledged this at the start, Coby. I mean, last year, the Women's Rumble absolutely just kicked things off with some huge surprises. Jordan Grace, to your point, and Sean Ellis agreed with you as well on that one, where last year's probably was ever so slightly better when it comes to that. But it was still really, really fun. There's no doubt about it. And like you said, obviously, Becky didn't show up as well. That's another one. We know she's been in and around. Asuka was a torn ACL. She'll probably be out probably a few more months yet.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you know, we can hope very, very soon. Alexa Bliss, though, was a huge surprise. Archie, what were your thoughts on this Rumble match?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it started off a bit slow, and then it kind of kicked into the highest gear it could have done when the Jordan Grace surprise happened, which I absolutely loved. It was probably one of my favorite parts of the show as a whole, seeing Jordan arrive in her new home. You know, as somebody that's quite a big TNA fan, all you have to do is just watch her work last year in TNA and NXT to see that she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. So it's a big time deal for WWE to get her signed to a contract. Charlotte Flair, I thought was, you know, predictable, especially with the final two going down to Charlotte and Roxanne. I was kind of hoping it was maybe like a final four of something like Charlotte, Roxanne, Io, and Bianca Belair or something like that. Just so there's just kind of that, you know, we don't really know who's going to win, because then maybe Io or Bianca could win. With Roxanne, they kind of didn't really expect her to win it. With Charlotte, you know, the thing is with Charlotte is you can agree or disagree with the decision to have her win, but to say that she doesn't deserve to win it, like I've seen a lot of online comments say, it's just a bit stupid in my opinion. You know, she's worked really hard to get back from one of the worst injuries you can get in wrestling. And to be and it's just, I think with Charlotte, she's thoroughly deserves it with all the hard work she's put into over the past year or more to get back in the ring. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the Rumble match. I agree with what Coby said, that the surprises were probably better in the women's. But it just took that little bit longer to get started than the men's. I probably would have liked it if there wasn't so many women or so many wrestlers in the ring at once, like there were with the men, so we can kind of get a bit more of a focus on things like the Julia and Io interaction and stuff like that. But also as a big NXT person, it's awesome to see NXT's two biggest signings over the past year make an appearance in Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. Both of them got fantastic reactions. Both of them impressed immensely. The only real thing I didn't really like was the kind of mass elimination thing that Nia Jax did. It wasn't really needed. But other than that, I think it was a very fun show. I enjoyed watching it with the people I watched it with. And it was great for the casual fan and the hardcore fan as well.
No doubt about it. I do agree with you completely. A fun Rumble indeed. Bobby Petito, shout out to you. He says, which brand do you think Jordan Grace is going to go to? I personally think Coby's potentially bang on with his prediction. I predicted a tag match with Jordan Grace involved, but I had originally pitched for Jordan Grace a team with Jade Cargill. But Coby brought up a brilliant point about Naomi. Perhaps that will be the team, and that will be fascinating indeed. But now let's move on to talk about the 2 out of 3 falls match. DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns. They were put in a really difficult spot, but Anthony, do you think they delivered?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Before I get into that, I do want to say one last thing. I did really like the stat bar they used during the Rumble matches. I meant to say that. I meant to say that earlier. But yeah, DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, the criticism that WWE and wrestling as a whole that's gotten, and I know Clark and I did that on a Heaven and Hell show, the tag division in wrestling has been lacking. And I feel like Motor City Machine Guns and DIY are infusing enthusiasm into tag team division that already has the Street Profits, that has Pretty Deadly. The SmackDown tag division might be the best one in wrestling right now because they're building it up. I remember saying I think they're going to go triangle ladder match, possibly, or a multi-man ladder match, or at least from the SmackDown tag titles, because they're setting things up that way. DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, it's almost like mirror images of one another. Motor City kind of set the template of all that. I loved Michael Cole with his stats. I thought that was great, saying that, all these people in this thing have 2 out of 3 fall history. DIY won their first tag titles in NXT in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Conveniently, they didn't mention the Revival, but I'm not surprised. But I was surprised when he mentioned the 2 out of 3 falls of Gargano winning the NXT with Adam Cole. I was a little surprised at that name.
Revival too.
Yeah. So the other one was obviously him mentioning, well, the Motor City Machine Guns won the TNA tag titles in 2 out of 3 fall, which is just kind of funny when they're doing that. I loved the one spot in the match, which was the result of the first fall, the fake tag. I love the fake tag because I thought it came out of nowhere. They had to re-show it because I think most people probably missed it because they just didn't catch it. I thought that was great. You knew it was going to go 3 falls. It's very rare that any of these things don't go all 3 falls. But they ended it in a way where it wasn't clean, but at the same point, you're building more intrigue. Going into Mania, Street Profits obviously going heel against another heel team and a babyface team. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, but I'm very much looking forward to the tag division getting a jump start. And if you remember, if they went triangle ladder match, it is the 25th anniversary of the first one at WrestleMania 2000 when it was the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys. And you think about how much those 3 teams really made tag team wrestling in WWE mean something. There was an extended rivalry with all that. There's so much you can do with that, and Raw needs that. Raw needs a tag thing too, and I've said this before. I personally believe that if Rey Fenix is not being held, the Lucha Brothers would have been what they would have done on Raw. That's my guess. Penta's doing fine without him. We'll obviously get further into that. But yeah, I thought it was a really solid match. I'm looking forward to see where this goes.
Absolutely. Hashtag Free Phoenix. I bet we'll be all over Twitter following that. But Numero 1 says, I hope we get DIY versus the Street Profits at WrestleMania. Great shout. Personally, I hope what Anthony predicted happens. That 3-way ladder match would be a banger. No doubt about it. But something else, which is also a banger, guys, is Etsy. Now, if you guys don't know what Etsy is, let me tell you about it. Etsy basically is a new app that we have partnered with, and on there we are able to do streams, but they're not just normal streams like this, but they are streams where you guys can get directly involved. You can join it, you can just type in the chat like you if you want to, but you can also, if you would like, put your hand up, put on your mic, come on in, put on your camera even if you want to. It's completely up to you, and join us, have a conversation. For example, argue with Clark about his dislike for Cody Rhodes tie clips. All of that are options. Download the Etsy app now. It is free on the App Store and Google Play Store, and head to the upcoming stream section to find out when we will be doing streams on it. Plus, of course, we'll let you know on this show in advance before we stream on there, but we are planning to do about 1 a week. But now let's talk about the WWE Championship, because we had Cody Rhodes defending it in a ladder match against Kevin Owens, and my oh my, this was absolutely delightful. Archie, I want to get your thoughts on this out of the gate. What did you think of this match?
Well, this whole rivalry is something that I could write an essay on. And if I was going to write an essay on it, then the title would be that Kevin Owens is the most misunderstood wrestler in WWE. The match itself was as brutal as I expected it to be to end this rivalry. What I came out of that was thinking, does Kevin Owens like his back? Because he's, I don't think we appreciate the level that he's willing to go to elevate a match like this at times. He just takes the most craziest and nastiest spots at times. But for me, what really kind of made this and was the icing on top of the cake was just the storytelling and the production in this match, which for me this match is a perfect example of when WWE is firing on all cylinders in that aspect. I mean, just the camera shots and the intricate details. Like after the match, when Cody was like, no, I'm not finished celebrating yet, and went to celebrate on top of the announce table right in front of Kevin Owens. That camera shot right there is just the perfect, is a brilliant tease for the Homelander Cody term, because if you didn't know any better and you saw that camera shot of Cody holding both titles in front of Sami Zayn consoling his beaten and battered best friend Kevin Owens, who had blood pouring out of his head, you think that the heel was Cody and the face was Kevin Owens, which I think was definitely the plan. It was I and the other thing I liked was, I think a lot of people expected both Cody and Kevin to bleed. I loved that Kevin was the one that was kind of gushing with blood, and it was Cody that didn't have a drop on him. And I think the use of Sami Zayn was absolutely perfect as well. I think it's definitely leading to Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, whether it's at WrestleMania or at the Elimination Chamber. You know, Kevin's got a perfect kind of thing to say to Sami, whereas, you know, hey, you could have stopped Cody from climbing the ladder if you weren't too busy kind of checking on me. You know, you let Cody win the title. So there's plenty to work with after that match, and it was just the perfect finale to a rivalry that has been just exceptional, and just with that's been involved two of the best in the business at the minute. And this is everything I wanted out of a Cody and Kevin Owens rivalry, for me personally.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Archie. It was a banger. The storytelling was brilliant. We keep going on about Homelander Cody, but again, there were references. Will it happen? We will have to wait and see. Russ Enterprise 41 over on Instagram is saying Sting would have been a better Rumble entrant than I Show Speed. First things first, Sting is under contract in AEW. Secondly, he is retired. And thirdly, I massively disagree. I Show Speed, his clip where he got speared, not only has just elevated Braun Breaker's stock massively, but it will be one of the most social clips in WWE history. That is just absolutely brilliant. So I'm all on board with I Show Speed making that one appearance. But something else, which was quite controversial, was your rating, Coby, for the Cody Kevin Owens ladder match. As the reviewer, of course, you're always the one getting stick for it all. But let us know what were your thoughts on this match and why it wasn't 5 stars at the end of the day.
I mean, that hey, like you said, like CM Punk said against Seth Rollins a long time ago, he has a bunch of arrow shot in his back. That's me every single week at this point. And I mean, I don't know who's got more, me or Clark, but regardless, this is the thing: is this match, almost to me over delivered, because I've seen a lot of just, I mean, even then the last time Kevin Owens was in a title match at the Royal Rumble, it was being carried by the entire Sami Zayn stuff and the Sami Zayn angle. This was a story in a completely different left field, because now we are at the point where we're not chugging along. We spent about 6 months ish, kind of like, okay, Cody Rhodes is the champion. He ain't going to lose to Styles. He ain't losing to Logan Paul. He wasn't going to lose to Solo Sikoa, unlike what Rikishi wanted. And at that point, it was kind of predictable. Right now, we're in the thick of it at this point. We are in a point where we're genuinely seeing how Cody Rhodes as a character is evolving, because he's getting that pressure, and I think that the most notable thing is he had bags under his eyes during the match, like for the match. He's selling, and he's taking the beating from Kevin Owens. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, because he's actually showing growth. We spent a lot of time going, well, what's next after what's next after finishing the story? Sorry. And now we kind of know what it is, and it's kind of Cody Rhodes cracking under the pressure. And I think that's what this story is at this point. It's very much going to be an interesting thing to see where they go from here, because I was under the impression, okay, well, we essentially set up Sami Zayn's presence in this match. Where's Randy Orton? And there was no Randy Orton. I thought this was just due to the camera cut or the camera angle that we saw with Cody Rhodes climbing the ladder, and you saw Sami Zayn staring. I was expecting something. Maybe not that the finish fell flat, but it almost left a little bit more to be desired. But the finish made sense. Kevin Owens sold that like death. He took a beating. I mean, Cody took the beating more, and Cody was able to give him one extra thing back in the end of it. To me, if I'm addressing the 5-star rating, I mean, there's a lot of nasty bumps in this, and there's a lot of nasty bumps that are safe, and there's some that aren't safe. I'm on the boat of those weren't safe last night.
Ooh.
And I think that, to me, that is what we wanted. Like, it was a brutal ladder match in every shape and form. But at the end of the day, that's our system. Our system's going to say, well, if it's not safe, if it's notably rough and notably nasty, it's not going to be something we're going to go, yeah, 5-star.
Fair enough. And I think that is certainly a fair point on that one. I could see it being argued either way, but I do think it's more than fair. An absolute banger of about regardless. Ignacio just got back from being at the Royal Rumble in Indy. Clark, I think, is on his way back now as well. We had a lot of Wrestling Republic representation over in Indy this weekend. Numero one Superfly is saying, once Cody turns heel, the first thing I want to see him do is punt kick fake babies. Why?
That was a Gene Snitsky special, but the match itself.
No, we talk about the QB thing. He has to get a snap and then throw it like an actual quarterback.
To try to get this back on the rails. No, this match was everything it was supposed to be. It was brutal. But the big thing is the long-term storytelling. They keep showing the cracks in Cody's character. They are showing he's cracking under the pressure. I used the analogy the other day with Lord of the Rings. The ring is corrupt Gollum. That's the pressure, because Cody talked about it, that Cena came up to him after he won at 40 going, the pressure is going to be on you now. The target's on your back. And we're seeing the elements of it. And one thing that I don't think we're really pointing out is we still don't know what Cody said to Kevin Owens that made him snap in the first place. That's another piece of this, because what's probably going to happen is Kevin's going to be not really the heel. He was, again, the misunderstood one, and they all believed Cody. There's any number of things. It's a very Homelander-esque, but he's going to have an unbelievable run as a heel. But I believe it's going to be after Mania. I think that's when Homelander is going to be revealed. But whether he still has the title when it gets revealed or he loses it and that's what's the final snap, we'll have to wait and see. But I thought the match gave you everything it wanted. I think the delay of Cody retrieving the belts might have been he wanted to make sure that they got that shot, because I think they really wanted that shot of a down Kevin Owens and Sammy looking up. It was probably to get the shot. Also, maybe he was trying to balance himself on the ladder to get them off. It might have been a logistical thing.
They had to get the ref in the ring.
I mean, again, it might have been a logistical thing, but either way, they got the shot that they needed to get.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But now let's move on. Let's talk about the big controversial point coming out of the Royal Rumble. And that, of course, was in the men's Royal Rumble match, where we saw the likes of Joe Hendry show up, AJ Styles return. It was absolutely fantastic. But Jey Uso winning was something that nobody called, apart from Ignacio, who in fairness has called it for the past 3 months. But out of the gate, I'm going to send it straight to you, Archie. I want to get your thoughts. What did you think on the men's Royal Rumble match?
for me, this Royal Rumble match, you know, the women's Royal Rumble match I enjoyed, but this Royal Rumble match had everything you could want out of a Royal Rumble match. We had some amazing cameos. Joe Hendry got a monster pop, by the way, and apparently I've been told that his hype's gone, and you know they waited too long to put the TNA World Title on them. Nope, it's still there. He's still as hot as ever. And they put the TNA World Title on him just at the right time. AJ Styles came back with his former music, and it was great. Another L for the dirt sheets, because you know apparently he was supposed to be out for the rest of 2025. Nope, he's back for Mania season, like everyone I think expected. And we had some fantastic stare downs as well, and something with the Rumble is that I love the surprises, but it's also the teases for potential matches we can get. Jacob Fatu, every single stare down he had, I think was probably like, yes, please. I mean, we've got Jacob and Roman, Jacob and Bron Breakker again, Jacob and Penta, and then also while on the topic of Penta, I think the start to the men's Royal Rumble match was as perfect as you can get, other than the little
that
little
was
mistake.
a big win.
Okay, it was big, to be fair, but it's one of those things which you can, you know, it's human nature. Referees make mistakes. You know, you can say they're as bad as the English officials in the Premier League. But no, I think the moment of Penta starting his premium live event debut against one of his idols and someone he looked up to him, Rey Mysterio, which is just a very emotional moment, very cool. And the Rumble as a whole, I really liked. And then finally we got the shock win of Jey Uso. And if you were going to do a shock winner, Jey Uso is the one perfect person to do it with, because this is the thing I don't get. And it's the same with Charlotte, right? It's the same with when we're talking about Charlotte Flair, and they're saying Charlotte Flair doesn't deserve it. They're saying the same thing with Jey Uso, that he doesn't deserve it. Jey Uso, he is one of the most popular wrestlers in the wrestling business. He sells merchandise like crazy. People are buying tickets to see him. This is someone that's a bona fide star. You know, it's I don't understand people's frustrations towards it, I guess. Because to me, Jey Uso, you know, John Cena, to me, it was probably quite it was probably quite, you know, it was expected, a bit like Charlotte Flair, where, you know, with Charlotte Flair and Roxanne Perez, you kind of thought Charlotte Flair was going to win. When it came down to John Cena and Jey Uso, I thought it was going to be John Cena, but I'm happy that they did this turn, because this swerve, because it just kind of throws everything up in the air now for WrestleMania. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't, you know, all we kind of know is that maybe Jay's going to go for Gunther, but even then we don't know, because in the press conference he said that, you know, he did think he was going to go for Gunther, but now he doesn't know. So everything's up in the air right now. And the build to WrestleMania is one of the most unpredictable I can remember for years. And that's what I love about this, is that we don't, you know, shocks and swerves can happen. And I'm excited to see where the ride that WWE takes us on. And, you know, my advice would just to be sit back and let WWE tell us the story that they're going to tell us.
In the words of Dwayne Johnson, sit back and enjoy the ride. Absolutely, Archie. Sean Ellis again saying, who is Speed? Again, like that made Bron Breakker a much bigger star than he was before last night. Yeah. He's now gone viral, a huge clip. I don't understand the criticism towards that.
I love the every time I watch that. I've watched that clip multiple times today. It just always makes me laugh. It's so good. I'm not a massive fan of Speed, but he took that like a champ. So fair play to him.
He did. I mean, I think he just took it. I think it was as legit as possible.
It was a tackle rather than a spear.
Yeah, but numero one says a bit unrelated. But although Joe Hendry got eliminated, Sheamus became a believer. Absolutely, he did. Coby, did you believe and do you believe in Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble?
To me, the question sits here as, when is WWE going, yeah, let's give the Royal Rumble victory to one of the most over talents on a weekly basis, selling merch like crazy, a bad decision? When would that ever be a bad decision? People are acting like they gave the Rumble to someone that doesn't matter. We sat here, not okay, I'm not going to put we, but I'm going to say there were people a week ago saying he should be beating Gunther at Saturday night's main event. So
I said it.
Ben said it, Sean said it. There were multiple people saying this, and now we're sitting here going, "Oh, maybe he isn't. Maybe he shouldn't beat Gunther now. Why did he win the Rumble?" Like it's the boy who cried wolf. It's these fans having a fat lip because they didn't see it coming. Like, it makes no sense. This Rumble is probably one of my favorites of all time, because you had phases. You had the work rate beginning with Penta and Ray and Carmelo Hayes and Santos Escobar, and seeing the Destroyers and the moments, and those were good and fun and it was enjoyable. And then things picked up because we got Braun Breaker, who not only had one viral moment, who's gonna have two viral moments, because guess what? He speared the absolute heck out of Roman Reigns. The fact that I can sit here and say Braun Breaker speared Roman Reigns better than anyone ever has at that point, because, I mean, he's got a better spear than Roman, and he's probably got the best spear in modern wrestling at this point. But there's so many things that I sat here in this match and went, yes, please. We got stare downs with Jacob Fatu and Roman, Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker. Jacob Fatu had not a star-making performance, but he looked great. He was able to work with Roman. He was able to look good. And he essentially set up Logan Paul's elimination of him hopping onto the announce table, because he tore everything off of it. Like, that shows you the logic put into this match. And we have people on Cage Match going, oh yeah, this is a 0-star because the result was Jey Uso, a man who is more over than anyone in the company. I can't sit here and say he's not one of the biggest top acts. I mean, Roman Reigns is a top act, but he's part-time. Jey Uso's there week to week. And if we're all gonna go, oh yeah, he had that stinker last year at WrestleMania, look at what happened. Jimmy Uso was hurt, and Jimmy Uso's back with a broken toe and a broken finger, and he's doing a lot better than he was last year. So he must have been hurt if he was doing that WrestleMania match, and I think that may be one of the factors of what happened in that scenario. But I'm not going to sit here and say Jey Uso winning the Rumble with the connection he has is a bad decision. I just can't see
isn't.
it.
I agree
cannot
with you.
argue that.
And we've got a few comments I want to quickly get to before I pass it to Anthony. But we've got, where's the comment gone now? I've lost it. Ignacio said, for once, Coby speaks some sense. Ignacio's not shutting up about him predicting this, is he? But Robert is saying Jay is the worst Rumble winner ever, so completely disagreeing with us. But Sean Ellis does agree.
So where's Del Rio?
Exactly. Oh, come on, Del Rio was a million times worse. No doubt about it. Y2XO says facts. No doubt about it. I mean, it really is as simple as that. But Anthony, where do you sit in this debate? Do you think it was the right decision?
Yeah. Honestly, there is no group of people that hate professional wrestling more than the IWC. It doesn't matter what they do. They always have something to complain about. They can never be satisfied. If Cena would have won, they would have complained and said, oh, you can't just have him win like that, not put over young talent. This is ridiculous. How did he win the title that quickly? Shut up. Just seriously, just shut up. Enjoy the ride. Like Coby said, Jey Uso is over. He's legitimately over. I saw that the night after Mania 40. in that arena. That crowd was all yeeting. He's selling merchandise like crazy. This has been going on for well over a year at this point. You cannot justifiably argue that he did not deserve it. He put in the work. He is over. That's a talent that's over. It's a business. I don't understand how people don't get that. It's about selling merchandise. It's about selling tickets. It's about connecting with the crowd. I have not seen that type of connection with the crowd since Daniel Bryan with the yes chants. The crowd is behind the yeet movement. They didn't go predictable. God forbid they didn't go predictable. They set up things. You noticed, if you go back and watch, Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker never really crossed paths. They stared at one another, but they never touched. Smart move. It's the second time they've done that. They set up Seth, Roman, Punk, which is probably going to be a Mania match. It's probably going to be the three of them. There's heat there. They made it work. Cena went in there, the veteran, on his farewell tour, his last Rumble. What did he do? He put somebody over. Oh, if you can't do that, there'll be complaints if Jay beats Gunther. Oh, losing the title 2 years in a row to Mania. You mean a guy that took a title and added to his own value, to the title's value, and put somebody over that they're bigger because they beat a dominant champion. Oh, you can't do that. That's all the IWC does, is complain. We saw seeds planted for Mania and beyond last night. And one little side note, I do have to say, I have no idea who Speed is. I am out of that age bracket to know who he is. But I will say this. Braun Breaker confirmed last night, if there was any doubt, he is a Steiner, because he went to kill. And if they're going to make the don't do this at home videos again, just show that. Or show it before a show to the in-ring audience to go, if you jump in the ring, this could happen to you. I think either way, it could be very informative to them. And obviously they're going to get the clicks, the likes, and all that stuff with the video. The Men's Royal Rumble did what it needed to do. It showcased people. Jacob looked amazing in that match. Punk still has not won his Rumble. He's not done yet. Before his career's done, he may win a Rumble. I was completely fine with this. I enjoyed it. Jay winning made sense because, again, no one predicted it. But there's no question he deserved it. So I have no problem with that. I have no problem with him going against Gunther at Mania. I have no problem with him winning at Mania against Gunther. The man deserves it. He's been putting in the time, the work, everything since the original start of the Bloodline with him and Roman. That was the seed. Yep. That was the start of this. I don't question Cody was the right guy to beat Roman. That was still the right move. I will argue that. That was the right move. But Jay deserves a world title. He's going to win a world title this year, and I think it's going to be at Mania.
I completely agree with you, and we'll be debating that for many months to come, no doubt about it. DCX Warlord says IWC stands for Insensitive Wrestling Community, and I agree with you, Anthony. They want unpredictability. They want surprises. They get one, and then as soon as they get one, this happens.
They want WWE to make new stars.
The only time legitimately, and it was in Philly, where the audience legitimately hated who won the Rumble was the year Roman won, the 2015 Rumble. That was when the audience didn't like it. Yeah. You go back and look at that Indianapolis crowd. They were all yeeting. I did not see I did not see a protest taking place.
There absolutely was. And the only thing I disagree with you on is that triple threat pit. Because like I said, if McIntyre's not involved after the fact that he is the story which connects them all, if he's not involved in that story, I think it is the biggest injustice to his career and the biggest injustice we've seen in WWE for quite frankly years. But I'll be breaking that down later this week.
I have no problem if it's a four-way. But what we witnessed out on the outside,
I know.
The seeds for the three-way. I'm just saying.
He has to figure out his way into it, but I will be talking about that this week for sure. Thank you, Coby. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Archie, for joining me here today. And thank you to everybody in the comments. And yeah, Y2XO's agreeing with you, Anthony. 2015 was not great when Roman Reigns won, but shout out to everybody and send in your questions for us to answer for Mailbag Monday via our Instagram story when we're about to upload it today. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.